Hello, I'm Richard Lowe, and this is the Leaders and Their Stories podcast. I'm here with Ben the Automator, and Ben's a regular now. He'll be coming probably once a month, so I hope you like him. And Ben, why don't you give a short introduction of yourself?
Sure, yeah. Been the Automator, 20 years of IT security and automation experience, over 500,000 hours of tasks obliterated, and over just about 16, $17 million in revenue saved.
Not bad, not bad. Well, I figured it'd be appropriate tonight to talk about digital transformation because that's kind of sort of what you do. And I've led 2 digital transformation projects, so we can probably have a nice conversation, be a little different than what we normally have.
Sure.
What do you think? You like
Yeah,
that?
that sounds great.
So how would you define digital transformation?
I mean, digital transformation is really just getting out of the Stone Age of for your processes, really. It's like this. If you are still manually entering data, a robot's probably going to replace that or has already. So from a digital transformation perspective for me, it's about making your repeatable processes automated and transforming the way that your business operates.
I think you said a key term there, which is transforming. And it's important to understand that a common term that's pushed around by a lot of people about digital transformation is people, processes, and technology. People comes first, then processes, then technology, which is why digital transformation projects should never be led by the IT department. Because what does the IT department want to do? They want to put in new technology. That's what they do. It makes total sense. Well, you don't necessarily need new technology. You might need people to be optimized. You need process. Well, I don't know if you optimize people. You might need people to have to work to change the mix up of people. You might need processes changed. And then you might need new technology. But if you start from the technology end, you're probably paying homage to some vendor who has some new sexy tool for you. And like what you do is you work on automating things, which is starting from people.
Correct.
You're automating processes that people use. So I doubt I think you rarely say, correct me if I'm wrong, you need to buy this newfangled piece of hardware.
No, in fact, it's the exact opposite for me. I want you to use your existing software and make it suck less.
That's a good way to put it. That's a great TikTok, by the way. Yeah, that's the point. Your people, you always start from people, and that could mean a lot of things. I've written 3 books on digital transformation, and I led the digital transformation at Trader Joe's twice. We had 2 of them. One was from paper to out of the Stone Age to into the Bronze Age, and then from the Bronze Age into the modern technology. I think they did another one where they went into the cloud and stuff. So, and I created private clouds. I think they're now totally in the cloud, but it's been 11, 12 years since I've been there. So digital transformation could mean a lot of things. And it also often doesn't mean you're doing your entire company all at once. You might be just digitally transforming accounting or the sub-department of accounting or the IT department or any number of other things.
Yeah, I mean, as I've told you before, automation or transformation of removal of a process in this case, if it saves you 5 minutes per day, that's 1% of a job, of a head count. If you can do that for an entire department, you've probably just fixed your budget issues.
Yep. Now, one of the ways I like to put it in my books, or some of them anyway, was what's becoming is you have digital employees and human employees. I have a digital employee. It's called ChatGPT, and it does work for me, and it does a lot of work for me. I might throw a transcript at it and say, make sense of this for me. I really wasn't listening during the interview. I didn't understand it or something, and it'll tell me all about it. That doesn't happen. I never have that kind of problem. But, what to-dos what did I commit to? What did they commit to? What's the deadlines we talked about? A lot better than note-taking, except for the one time that I lost the transcript, so that became a little pain. But it's always glitches in the matrix.
That's right.
So what do you think of that concept of the digital employee?
I mean, digital employees are a must these days, right? And I'll take that a step further. I think you need a digital co-employee. So if you're an employee, you need the ability to utilize ChatGPT or some other AI such as Copilot to be able to get your job done faster.
Right.
As far as the digital employee goes, just remember anything you hate doing, AI can probably do it better as long as you give it enough parameters and enough instructions to get what you want.
Yes. And as long as it's not beyond the capabilities of the AI itself.
Mm-hmm.
There are things like I wanted it to review an entire book and it just didn't have the memory or resources to do it. So I had to just give it to it in chunks. Go figure. It couldn't read a whole 60,000 word book and cut it down. Probably will be in a very short time because I'm sure they get feedback on that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it was frustrating. Well, I wanted it to tell me, did I do any redundancies in the book? That's the thing it's great for. Is anything redundant? And it told, once I broke it down, it told me, yeah, you got a couple. And that fixed that.
Do you ever use Scratchpad when you interact with ChatGPT? Have you heard of that concept?
I have not.
So when you're in ChatGPT or pretty much any AI, if you tell it to utilize a Scratchpad to keep track of its thoughts and movements, what it'll do is it'll actually almost make a digital to-do list and then go back and double check it. Now, there's other ways you can actually leverage that even more by utilizing what they call second order and third order thinking. So that's kind of like having a peer review your work and then having an architect review your thoughts and your peers' thoughts.
Nice. So it's not the first order like in Star Wars, it's second order and third order.
Exactly.
Yes, although I'm surprised I'm bringing it up because I thought those were terrible movies, but everybody has their own opinion. Yeah, so AI is interesting. I had a project that I wrote about that was using AR and VR as part of their digital transformation. There's a warehouse, and they actually had AR that you put glasses on, and their job was to go out to the warehouse and find the cases and things that they needed to put on the truck. Well, part of the problem is where is it? So it would actually put arrows on then there were spots where they shouldn't go that are dangerous, so it would have signs up. And then the guy could do this, and the box would open up in his AR, and show him what's inside. And this was all done through glasses, and it was very, very, very successful and really cut down the amount of wasted effort on the part of the warehouseman. And that was a big digital transformation project for them.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is that kind of like Ready Player One style? Were they on those Omni?
No, they were walking around the warehouse with just the goggles. Yeah. And they had a cart. They had a cart with some stuff with a computer on it, so they carried that around too because they needed the extraneous computer because the goggles didn't have the computing power. I mean, this was a few years ago, so it wasn't the metaverse. Yeah, that's something that I haven't heard a lot about lately, thank God. But we'll see how it goes. But that was an interesting digital transformation project that did not involve AI at all. It was just AR and VR. And it worked very, very well. So it's not always AI. Digital transformation does not mean AI. It could mean anything.
Right. I actually specialize in SOAR technology, security orchestration, automation, and remediation. And as you know, this is what cybersecurity companies use to create codified SOC processes, investigating a phishing email or something along those lines. I know a lot of people are saying SOAR is dead, but you'd be surprised just how many companies out there are still leveraging it like we do at Phoenix Cyber. And, as far as those transformations go, I mean, how would you handle a digital transformation for a single process that's like 4,000 steps?
In that case, your best step is to put all those things into artificial intelligence to plan. And okay, what here is redundant? What here has bad flows, like it goes off to the side, comes back? What here can we optimize? All kinds of questions you could ask AI about that. Of course, the hard part is getting that all into an AI because it's probably not It's probably not documented to a certain amount.
Very true. With regards to the digital transformation, I mean, a lot of your slow and fatigue points are going to be that tribal knowledge, the lack of documentation, the lack of artifacts that actually exist, and then whether Timmy and Sally actually do the process the same or not.
Yeah, and that will address, your first stage of digital transformation needs to be document what you got, or one of the first stages, because you don't know what to optimize until you know what you got, unless you're going to just flat out replace it. But that'll help solve the problem of what if Sally leaves, which is always going to happen. Somebody will always leave. At some point in their life, they're going to leave. And then if it's tribal knowledge, you're pretty much screwed. If they're the only ones who know how to do this thing, you're in trouble, especially if it's mission critical. They're the only ones who know how to take the nuclear power plant and rods out of the power plant and put them into this place here in a certain way so that they do this and this and this. that person's gone, and what are you going to do?
Right. Right. So
It's like
with
the
the
old.
oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, no.
Did you know the old Apollo stuff? One of the reasons why they didn't proceed is every single Apollo spacecraft was hand built. Those things weren't factory created. I mean, there were factories building them. There were assembly lines and stuff. There's no automation back then. The wire wrap boards and the boards and the computers were all handmade. In fact, they were programmed with wires. They didn't have code in them to a certain extent. They had some code. It was really primitive. But when you wanted to program, you move this wire here and this wire here and this wire here. And when the person who knows how to do that dies or moves on or is not available anymore, what are you going to do? That's not documented. Anyway, you were going to say something, so.
And now I don't remember.
That's okay. Well, digital transformation is a complex thing. So the first thing if say you're a consultant, say you're hired to digital transform a relatively 50-person company, 100-person company. Probably one of the first things you do is start interviewing people, start to try and at least get a grasp on what's going on, and maybe document it, and get some flow charts and things, mind maps, whatever you use, to try and figure out what the hell's going on here. You may use AI for that. You may not. Just kind of depends on how complex it is and what you got. Then I imagine the next step would be, what are the pain points? What is the biggest bang for the buck? Because there's some things you're not going to change. There's some things like that's just minor. Sally can continue to do that.
Now, what's your thought on actually tackling the most painful process for the business, whether that be error prone or risk or time consuming or issues with customer delight, right? What are your thoughts on how to prioritize that, right? Because what I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you're going to come in and you're going to start documenting all these things. But how are you prioritizing?
Well, you're gonna talk. The first thing you're gonna do is try and get a grasp on the whole thing. So they said, just digitally transform. We just want to digitally transform. They don't really know what it means. I want you to fix accounting because it's costing us a lot of money, or something like that. Or operations I don't know where all that money is going. Digitally transform it. So you're at that stage, and that's quite common, I'm sure. Especially in smaller companies, they don't know what to do. They just know that they've heard this word and fix it. So what are you going to do? You're going to look for those pain points. You're going to interview people. You're going to interview Sally, and you're going to interview Joe, and you're going to interview the comptroller and the CFO. They're going to have different viewpoints. If it's accounting, CFO is going to say, well, this is what's costing you money. People below are going to say, no. This process is taking me half the day every day, and it's stupid. I guess then at that point, you're going to leave it up to the powers that be to decide which one is the best for the company to do to start with. They're probably going to pick the one that has the best ROI. Is Sally doing that one task 50% of her job? Does that have a good ROI? It doesn't matter. Optimizing this pain point that has to do with customers, you generally want to start with customer-facing stuff. Is that where you want to put your effort first? I would say generally it's customer-facing or operational tangles that are just killing your company, where the operations is just not, your company grew too fast. Those are the two areas. Accounting is probably the least on my list.
But to me, accounting would be one of those things that's actually repeatable nowadays, right? It's very repeatable, and therefore, you don't require an entire staff of accounting people anymore. Really, what you require is 1 to 2 people with a well-trained bot or a program that enables them to do their work faster.
And that could be. The question is, where are you going to get your biggest bang? What's the most important thing to the business, given that you don't have infinite resources? So you might say, okay, I want to hit the customer-facing stuff first. I want to hit the operational tangles second, and let's hit accounting third, and let's worry about some other thing, marketing last on the line and sales last on the line, because we're not having a problem with that. It kind of depends. Accounting may come first because maybe you're not paying creditors on time, or maybe you look at the amount of people. We got 50 people in accounting. We're only a 100-person company. What the heck? You find out you don't need that many people because you can put in a couple of ChatGPT scripts and you're done.
So who do you think is the most interested in digital transformation these days?
Every business should be interested in it because they will get gains from it. The larger companies I've been hearing are creating actually a C-level, board-level position called CAIO, the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer, the Chief Digital Transformation Officer. These are becoming more and more normal because they need to be at the business level. They need to be high up so that they can decide what is the best for the business, and we don't have infinite resources. So Sally, it may be very annoying that Sally's spending half her day on that, and that may be costing us some money, but she's only getting $25,000 a year. Whereas having this operations person not delivering product on time to the stores, that may be costing $1 million a year. Which one do you hit first? And it's usually first, which one do you hit first? Because once they see the benefits, it just steamrolls. And then maybe you hit Sally as a side project. You say, okay, we're going to do Sally in accounting we'll just do it because we can save this money. But in the meantime, we're going to focus on operations because that's where the big money is, the big return. Kind of depends on the goals of the company.
Now, do you believe that digital transformation of infrastructure going cloud is still relevant these days? I see it bouncing back and forth. People going back to on-prem infrastructure, and so do you have anything that you'd like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, surprise, surprise. It turns out the cloud isn't free. And it actually, if you don't carefully watch the resources, it actually is very, very expensive. You could wind up using tons of disk space that you don't use, or have your developers creating lots and lots and lots of clones because it's safe. And suddenly you're spending a lot of money on disk space that you don't need to, a lot of money. And it's so easy for those people to do it, or to use more compute resources or whatever. So a lot of people say, well, let's just go back to on-prem. Well, then you've got the heavy lift of the hardware. So what are you going to do? I think it's going to go to a mixture of both. You're going to have some on-prem and some in the cloud. And the cloud's great for scalability. So Christmas comes, Trader Joe's, we would typically do 3 times the business as normal on Christmas. We definitely want that scalability. We want to take that spike. That's with on-prem, you're wasting all that compute during the rest of the year. So you're going to use the cloud for that spike, but you might have your normal business be on-prem and use the cloud as a contingency. That's not costing you a lot until you need it.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think is holding businesses back from digital transformation? Is it that they're scared? Is it that they don't know better?
I would say is that they're looking at it from an IT point of view is a big problem. It's not an IT project. Do not think of it as an IT project. It is a business project. It actually should be called business transformation. I think a lot of places do. And it really is you're transforming your business. You're transforming your culture, transforming your finances, your IT. You're transforming different components. You have to transform the culture because these people they're going to be worried about their jobs. They've got this anti-tech feeling probably. A lot of companies that people hate IT and dislike it a lot because IT is very Butinsky, sometimes. We're just going to put this on your sermon system whether you like it or not, kind of thing. I was part of IT. I know that. We're going to implement this whole new thing. You don't really have much to say about it. We'll ask for your input, but we're really just asking. And we crash things. IT does a lot. I was in IT, so I can say this. We cause a lot of problems. We help with a lot of problems too. So I hope that answered the question. I like the way you're interviewing me now.
We just need more topics.
Oh, I got plenty. Up here.
Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, we got enough for a year's worth of these things. Easy.
Awesome. So what do you feel like the digital transformation or the business transformation? I like that. What do you feel like a business transformation value is for a company? You said it steamrolls. You said that it's, you and I both know that it's amazing, but for anybody out there that's skeptical, what kind of value is in a transformation like that?
If you're in a competitive marketplace, your competitors are probably digitally transforming. If you're not, you're going to die. You're going to eventually be swallowed up, or your business is going to die. Because they're going to put in something that's customer facing, that's better than what you got. They're going to untangle some of their operational problems. They'll probably even take care of Sally at some point and give her maybe a nice retirement party or whatever. So you're going to lose if you don't do digital transformation fast. It's actually going to happen very fast. It's not AI. Digital transformation is bigger than AI. AI is part of digital transformation, just like VR and augmented reality and virtual reality are part of digital transformation. AI is part of digital transformation. Robotics might be part of your digital transformation. All these different components go into it. So don't think we're going to put AI into a company. Think we're going to digitally transform our company. If you're a trucking company, maybe you're going to get autonomous forklifts. So you're going to have robotics there. Maybe you're going to have autonomous trucks. But does that really work? How about starting with, this is a great place to start, that paper manifest, put it on a tablet, for crying out loud. I think a lot of them are starting to do that. But think of all the time that's wasted just writing down numbers that could be shared. That's a great place to start your digital transformation. Getting rid of paper reports in the warehouse, that's another great place.
Think about how hard it is to read the handwriting of some people. I don't even write anymore. I write maybe once or twice a year, and when I do, it feels almost foreign, but people still go, what's this? What's that?
Well, not only to read it, but to share it and
Right.
to audit it and to all these other things. Handwriting is very difficult in many, many things. Writing into a computer, it's in a database. Now, there's problems with databases. I mean, that's a whole nother story, but we could do a whole podcast on is databases because everything underneath of it has databases. Everything has databases. I mean, even robotics has data underneath. Data, without data, there is none of this stuff. And that's probably one of the base problems that a lot of companies have is their data is in terrible shape. And they got to clean it. They got to unsilo it. Siloing means your account, and we can have a whole podcast on this, but siloing means you've got your marketing data is in a separate computers than your sales data, than your accounting data, and they don't talk to each other. So they use different databases, they use different communications. They might even use different programming languages. Some of it may be off-site. That's all siloed data. What you want to do is centralize that so that it can all be, or at least connect it so that it can all be looked at as a whole. Because if you're doing, say, ROI report, or whatever the business term is, reports on the marketing silo and on a different, say you're actually I did a report on this, say you had a business that had a different location in every state, and every one of those was a different silo. It's going to be very hard to match up the numbers because they're all different. Now, if you put them all so that they're all connected, or even the same database, then it becomes much easier. The reporting becomes much easier, and you can get a better picture of what your company does. You can make better decisions just doing that. That could be a big project, but there are companies that'll do it. And I've actually written reports on companies that do that. Written reports for them, not on them.
Slightly different.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's even a bigger net of how do you secure it? How do you keep it private? How do you audit it? How long do you need to keep it? How much do you need to keep? I mean, there's a bazillion topics in data that we could talk about. We'll save that for another podcast, though. Well, we've been going for about 30 minutes. I think that was a good point to stop. What do you think?
I think so.
All
Yep.
right. So if you could sum up what we just talked about in a couple sentences, what would you say?
Well, what you said is the most important, that you need to start with people, and that it doesn't need to be an IT initiated or an IT owned project. Let's put it that way. Digital also should be done from the business perspective and not from, just putting in AI everywhere. I mean, I think that you should definitely use AI to enable your business, but it should be done in a way that is carefully implemented, and you should have somebody constantly QAing those prompts and changing them, because they will eventually get out of sync. And then lastly, pretty much all businesses can benefit from it. Right? There's not a business out there from trucking to manufacturing to IT companies, consultants. They can all benefit from this. And Sally in accounting is going to have a fantastic retirement party when accounting becomes fully automated.
Or she'll be repurposed to another department, whichever works best.
Absolutely.
That all needs to be part of your cultural transformation. Is what do you do with these people who are now getting reduced or out of a job? If you just say you're out of a job, they're going to start actively opposing you, and you don't want that.
You want everybody to be on board with it. Right? You don't want to replace people. You want to get rid of the stuff either A, they don't want to do, or B, that they shouldn't be doing.
Right. All right. Well, that's a great place to stop it. I'm Richard Lowe, the writing king and ghostwriting guru. This has been the Leaders and Their Stories podcast, and we got into a fascinating discussion that had almost nothing to do with ghostwriting, but that's fine. And where can they reach you?
If they want to reach me, just look me up on LinkedIn, Ben the Automator, and you can also go to bentheautomator.com.
If you look up on LinkedIn, I guarantee you won't have any trouble with the profile picture. It's pretty obvious who he is. All right.
Is it the green hair, or is it my picture of like that?
It's the persona. It's very unique, very distinct. I like it. Like me and my shirts, it's very distinct.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll have another one of these in a month with Ben the Automator. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.